thinking about this word mystify or mystification, and it's usually a pejorative term, meaning to explain something in a way which is unnecessarily complex, or to invoke ways of understanding which are hard to grasp, or to use jargon or specialized terminology, to use frames of reference which perhaps the person you're talking to doesn't understand, those kind of things, so that whatever it is you're talking about is not clear. As I say, it's a pejorative term. It's not something which is recommended. If you're trying to communicate information, if you're trying to get something across in this classic conduit model of knowledge transfer, then the sort of obfuscation and complexity that mystification implies is not conducive to that act of knowledge transfer. But I'm just wondering if there's a sort of not exactly positive way, but a more interesting way of using it. It was a way of appropriating that term and that concept and using it for fun and profit. And the first thing that comes to my mind is that whilst there's no, as far as I'm aware, no etymological connection between mystify, mystification, and the word mist, M-I-S-T, it's quite nice, it's quite a useful coincidence that synchrony does exist. Because certainly when I think of mystification, or when I experience mystification, it does feel a little bit like some kind of fog, some kind of conceptual mist has descended, which is preventing me from seeing the object of truth, the object of knowledge that is supposedly within my grasp or quite close to me. And this mist, this fog, is impeding my progress towards it, or preventing my hand reaching out and grasping it fully. So the first thing I'm quite sort of interested there is this spurious but interesting connection between the word mystify and the concept of mist. The second thing to do is this, and relates to that one really, is to do with what happens to mystification, or what happens to mist or fog. Because certainly fog or mist or mystification has a tendency to undergo various transformations. Fog and mist and the mystery of mystification emerges out of something which is relatively solid and clear and concise and well defined. Mystification of a topic usually requires some relatively straightforward topic to begin with, that one takes through a process of mystification. And similarly, mist, M-I-S-T, starts out as clear, lucid drops of water, and into their vaporization and their evaporation they become that mist. And following out from that, the processes which lie at the other end of that, demystification and condensation, also have some sort of corollary there. The process, the transformation from mist, M-I-S-T, back into the lucid drops of water that form condensation on the inside of a window pane. It's an interesting transformation, and in some ways maybe parallels the demystification that results from any kind of process to turn mystery into coherent, accessible knowledge. But I think what's sort of lost in the pejorative application of that, of mystification and demystification, is the kind of distillation, if you like, which liquid goes through when it transforms from water to mist and back to water again. There's a sense in which something has happened to the condensate. It's in a different place. It's perhaps purer, it's perhaps shed many of its contaminants. It might have moved through space. It might condense. It might evaporate in one place and condense in a totally different place, perhaps a more useful place, perhaps a more usable condition. And I think possibly the same thing applies to mystery, in the sense of one might mystify something in order to allow its eventual condensation in a different place, in a different order, and cleansed of its contaminants, or just simply reformed in a way which is more interesting, in a way that one could take a block of ice, melt it, evaporate it to mist, condense it, and then freeze it again, not only in a different place, but in a completely different shape. So maybe art is an example of a useful mystery, or maybe scientific processes are examples of useful mysteries. Maybe just wandering around aimlessly, waiting for something to condense out of one's own imagination is a useful use of the mist in mystification.